So the main character of my blog is called Ashwagandha, which is a kind of herb, and my aim is to evaluate its effect on stress and sleep quality. For the writing style, I'll firstly start from an introduction in a logical order. Starts from burnout and insomnia is common nowadays, so people are trying to find an ancient remedy to deal with the problem. So gradually they discover a herb called ashwagandha and made so many well-sold products, and I aim to evaluate its effects. And here's our two perspectives. Firstly, ashwagandha is effective on stress relief and improving sleep quality. Second, limitations and risks are still existed for people using it. And for critique, I aim to evaluate two perspectives objectively by going through evidence from numerous clinical trials. And since so many people are not familiar with ashwagandha, I'll introduce it by pointing out its appearance, location, and traditional use. Ashwagandha has another name called Withania somnifera, which is an evergreen shrub in the Solanaceae family. And since it is native to Middle East and North Africa, other African regions, Southern Europe, and some other locations, and also particularly its root powder has been used for centuries in traditional Indian medicine. Therefore, people will have a general idea about what is ashwagandha. Then I'll point out some examples of the products related. For example, you'll see it sold on TikTok, Instagram as capsules and gummies, attempt to awaken people's impression about it. And finally, I'll give an rhetorical question. However, have you ever wondered, does it truly work to trigger readers' thinking and skillfully lead into the theme of the blog? Evaluate. After introducing what is it, I'll have to demonstrate its working mechanisms by mainly introducing its components. And for my blog, the most two important components are withanolides and alkaloids. Because withanolides can modulate HPA axis, which related with the stress hormone cortisol, and alkaloids has been proved to improve sleep quality effectively. And the rest of them are flavonoids, saponins, coumarins, and chlorogenic acids. During introducing those components, I'll demonstrate uncertainty using words could, suggests, and so on. And since my first perspective is about ashwagandha is effective, so I'll have to go through those clinical evidence. For stress, I'll bring those two sources together using the logical words furthermore, in addition, also, and also combine the common points through the conclusions and results shown. For sleep, I go over numerous randomized control trials that's shown, so rewrite the citations in a more understandable language. For example, rewrite insomnia in sleep disorder. And the second perspective is about limitations and risks of using ashwagandha. So I find, firstly, UK's Food Standards Agency have identified its associations with liver, thyroid, and also jaundice, liver enzyme levels raising problems. And also, there's a critical review in 2026, which shows that it has relations with gastrointestinal, immuno, and endocrine problems. And there are also possible interactions with diabetes, high blood pressure, immune suppression drugs, and also pose possible risks on those pregnant women, organ transplant candidates, and some special individuals. So by gathering all the information that I got, here's my conclusion. Ashwagandha has shown some promise for address stress, sleep quality, and other effects, and the components inside has been related to its functions accordingly. However, prolonged trials are still needed, maybe combined with other medications, or production standardized, personalization therapy and deeper research on its full chemical components are still needed in the future. So for the overall blog, in order to make my science communication appealing, I firstly focus on those 3 points: logos, ethos, and pathos. For logos, which means logic, I'll relate my perspectives with clinical evidence accordingly. For ethos, which means credibility, I gather my data and results from professional researchers and critique two perspectives without personal bias. And finally, for pathos, which means emotion, I'll deliver my emotion in the end by giving my suggestions for people who still want to try ashwagandha nowadays.